Tonight, we will be sharing a review of our work over the past year and the work we hope to do in 2025, and celebrate the past 13 years of our collective accomplishments to cooperatively steward the Continental Divide Trail and landscapes and communities and cultures we serve along its spine. We'd like to begin tonight by acknowledging that the lands on which the 3,100-mile Continental Divide Trail traverses are the past and present day homelands of Indigenous and Native people and tribal nations. And we honor all Indigenous people, past, present, and future, who inhabit, hold sacred, and steward the land along the Continental Divide. We offer our gratitude and appreciation to those whose homelands the trail traverses, and we honor all those who've been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Indigenous communities continue to protect and remain in relationship with the Continental Divide, and will do so until the end of time. And so we acknowledge the ongoing dedication and importance of Indigenous culture within our communities and within the land that we gather, live, learn, and work on. We're going to place the native lands map in the chat in the event you wish to see whose lands you're on tonight, and to nurture the culture and community around the Continental Divide, so that as we grow the trail community, the trail and its surrounding landscape remain central to what you care and love about our work. And we hope you'll join us in acknowledging our relationship to the lands on which the CDT traverses, so we can build a future with more understanding and knowledge of the places and cultures the trail connects, as it brings all of us together in shared stewardship of one of the most important places in on the North American continent, the Continental Divide. And so let's get into our town hall. So as many of you know, we see the trail as a connector of communities, cultures, and landscapes. This is the place where water emerges from the ground and brings life to over 80 million people across North America. It forms 5 major watersheds, connects 8 major ecosystems, and provides migration corridors for hundreds of birds and animals. It is a key signifier of American life and holds the history of settlement of the West, our traditions, and it holds our stories. And so the trail brings us together for sure. And here at CDTC, with over 2,500 members and supporters and a reach of over 70,000 people all across the world, and I saw some of you all coming in from not just here in the United States, we know that there are many people who love and care about this trail. So tonight, just like every town hall, we want to share with you all of our celebrations from this past year. We have some exciting big announcements that are becoming this year. We're going to talk about programs and efforts we're doing as well this year. And then we're going to close with the CDTC staff panel, a new event for us during the town hall, where we can have a lot more interaction and you can bring your questions for a Q&A with all of our program team. So with that, let's move into some celebrations. And so tonight, we're beginning with those celebrations because let me try again, because all of you, we continue to thrive here at CDTC, and 2024 was no exception. So also please accept our deepest gratitude for being a part of the trail and a part of CDTC and helping us accomplish so many great things and help ensure that we continue to do amazing work for the trail and all it connects. And so that we are thrilled to officially announce that as part of our efforts to regionalize our work, we now have 3 offices along the Continental Divide Trail. Our main office remains in Golden, Colorado, in the American Mountaineering Center. Our second office is up in Helena, Montana, where we reside in the historic Bluestone Building and with our partners from Wild Montana. And our newest office, which opened this July, is in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the Fortaleza Coyote Building in the historic 2nd Street District, and alongside our new landlords, the CDT Coalition. So if you're ever coming through Golden, Helena, or Santa Fe, come by and see us, although we highly recommend you reach out beforehand so we can be sure to be there when you come by, because we do spend a lot of time on the trail. Second, we're going to move into the CDTC by the numbers, which is a big celebration for us, reporting on our volunteer hours and the impact they have on our work to support the Continental Divide Trail. As always, we are proud to report on how our efforts contribute back to the American public for the investment the Forest Service and other federal agencies make in our organization and other partners. So let's talk about the most important numbers. CDTC volunteers alone produced 305 volunteer hours, which is valued at almost or more than $500,000 or $579,544, which is amazing. When we add in the numbers of our partners who shared their volunteer hours with us this past year, that means combined we produced 22,492 volunteer hours valued at $753,190. And that's just incredible. And this is such a big deal because annually the federal government allocates a total of $1.59 million to the Forest Service to be allocated out to agency field units for boots on the ground projects and to support shared stewardship partners like us, the Colorado Trail Foundation, youth corps organizations, all up and down the CDT. In 2024, the funds that went out to all partner organizations totaled $335,000. And of that, $295,000 came to CDTC. CDTC leveraged that $295,000 and raised an additional $1.44 million in cash, private dollars, because of you all. And when that is combined with that $579,000 contributed through volunteer hours, we provided over $2 million back to the federal government on behalf of the Continental Divide Trail. And this is why CDTC and our shared stewardship efforts are so highly regarded by the federal agency partners we work with, because we are matching their federal funds nearly $7 to every one of their dollars. It's super impressive. So we share this first to say thank you, because we couldn't do it without you. And because 13 years after being challenged to demonstrate the American public's commitment to the CDT, we continue to show that commitment remains high. And 12 years after receiving our first challenge cost share of $15,000, what we are showing is that together with partners, youth corps, communities, volunteers, is that not only is it in the best interest of the American public for federal agencies to invest in us, we're showing how that investment keeps the CDT Shared Stewardship Partnership the shining example across the entire national trail system, and how the public and the government can work together for the best interests of our nation's nationally significant resources. So congratulations to all the volunteers and all the people who helped make that happen. We couldn't do it without you. So what are some of the other things that we did on the trail that some of those volunteer hours showed up in and some of our work did? Well, we did a lot of trail management along the trail, and we really want to talk about the gates. We installed so many gates over the last couple of years, and a lot of that came this last summer and spring in partnership with the New Mexico Conservation Corps and the Bureau of Land Management Las Cruces District, where many of those gates were actually installed as the first wave of northbound through hikers took off from the southern terminus in April. Much of the southern section of the CDT is now accessible also for equestrian users because of those gates, because not only did we put in gates, we put in equestrian walkthroughs. And as a teaser for our work this year, we will continue to install the few remaining gates later this spring. And we want to remind you now that we have these gates. You don't have to go under fence lines or over fence lines. Please close the gate whenever you encounter one, especially if it was closed when you found it. We also installed a ton of signs. Signs, everywhere there's signs going up. Thanks to the Winchester Endowment Fund, signage continues to be installed and updated by volunteers, adopters, and staff all across the CDT. And if you're on tonight and you're an adopter, a land manager, or a volunteer and need signage for a section of trail that you're attached to, please contact us because we have lots of signs. This also includes roadway signs showcasing the CDT as it crosses major highways, specifically in Colorado. So keep your eyes out for them. And if you see them, take a picture and send it to us. We'd love to see you standing in front of one of these signs. We also installed a ton of kiosks. We installed kiosks all across the trail, and specifically, we put some new ones in gateway communities in Salida and Leadville, Colorado. So now when you're in town, you can learn all about the CDT. We also installed a new kiosk at Hopewell Lake in northern New Mexico as part of a CDTC volunteer project. And we worked with the Taos Pueblo to create greater understanding of the lands the trail crosses in the Carson National Forest, and also serves as a shining example of our work to strengthen relationships with tribal nations all along the CDT. We have more kiosks on the way in 2025 with kiosks being developed at Muddy Pass and Dumont Lake in northern Colorado, and more kiosks will be going in along the Carson National Forest thanks to the Joe Schuler Memorial Fund. All right, moving on to trail protection and completion. Trail crews from the Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, Ancestral Lands Conservation Corps, and CDTC's field operations staff began critical maintenance through the Black Range of the Gila National Forest section of the Continental Divide Trail after the devastating Black Fire in 2022. This work and the strong partnerships will continue in 2025 and beyond. And now we're going to move into community and outreach programs. In 2024, we welcomed our 21st Gateway community and our 5th in New Mexico with the designation of Hidalgo County as a Gateway community. This beautiful and unique community, home to the CDT's southern terminus, offers stunning desert landscapes, rich cultural heritage, and incredible opportunities for adventure. We're excited to partner with Hidalgo County to enhance the CDT experience and support the vibrant communities all along the trail. We also continue to work with youth. You are in our youth hiking program and also in a tribal fellowship that we worked with, and also working with some new murals all across New Mexico. So with our youth hiking program, we continued work in partnerships with the Yakima Learning Center, the Zuni Youth Enrichment, Lordsburg YCC program, and New Mexico Earthlings, which is a group based out of Cuba and Chama, New Mexico, 2 of the CDT Gateway communities in New Mexico. We also worked with 5 tribal fellows and their faculty advisors to strengthen relationships with tribal youth along the CDT and understand how to build more pathways to engagement of their communities into our work. It was a 6-month fellowship that saw us partner with the American Indian College Fund and the U.S. Forest Service Tribal Affairs Office, and was a great success, resulting in 5 fellows remaining engaged with CDTC following the end of the fellowship. And we have more work. We have even more work going on in 2025. We anticipate not only working with the Yakima Learning Center, Youth Enrichment Program, and Lordsburg's YCC program, we're adding the Boss School in Albuquerque to some of our youth hiking programs. And we'll continue working with higher education institutions that we worked with the tribal fellows. And then finally, we worked with Grants, New Mexico to install a new mural in the town, which was designated in October, and began planning work to install another youth mural in Lordsburg, New Mexico, working with the youth mural program based out of Silver City, New Mexico. For those of you on the call tonight or on the town hall that are really interested about hiking the trail, you'll be excited to learn that in our trail information program, we added a full-time staff member dedicated to trail information. Danny, who's on the call tonight, is our trail information manager, so we can provide even stronger, more responsible, not just responsible, but responsive information to your requests. This includes continuing to provide free online maps, planning guides, and hiking resources. So whether you want a day hike, overnight hike, do a long section hike, or go all in for a through hike, we now have even more resources to support that trip for you being a success. As part of our trail information program, we launched 2 new programs. We had a hiker registration hang tag program, and we also launched a text and email alert program. These programs collectively allow us to provide data that help the CDTC, federal land partners, and partner trail crews to manage and maintain the trail and ensure that trail visitors have the most current and up-to-date information to keep them safe while out on the trail. With our hiker hang tag program, once a hiker registers, folks will receive a free CDT hang tag. Hang tags are a sign of a hiker's pledge to protect the trail and a commitment to practice leave no trace. In its first year, we saw a total of 670 registrations. 550 of those registrations said they were through hikers, 113 said they were section hikers, 393 folks said they were hiking northbound, 234 folks said they were hiking southbound, and 43 folks said, hey, I'm going to be flipping and flopping all over the place. So we're thrilled that this year you can also sign up for a hang tag program and have this really cool hang tag on your pack. With our hiker alert program, we designed and launched a text and email alert system to inform hikers of critical alerts while on the trail. hikers were able to opt in for this free service. We alerted hikers to emergencies, trail closures and reroutes, and other hazards they might encounter while on the trail. And last year, we saw 16 trail closures across 250 miles, 11 wildfires, 3 prescribed fires, 3 tree thinning or other kind of construction projects along the trail that had alternate routes required, 2 avalanche danger alerts, and 1 hydrological explosion in Yellowstone National Park. And all of those were reported out to the public quickly so we could keep everyone informed almost in real time. And with that, we're going to move into our next section of our town hall, which is our exciting announcements and all the things we are looking forward to in 2025. So thanks again for joining us tonight. It's our privilege to be able to do this work in service of the Continental Divide and the Continental Divide Trail, and to ensure that your voices are elevated and included in the stewardship of the CDT. So please reach out if you ever need anything. And now I'm going to turn the town hall over to Elle Fisher, CDTC's Director of Trail Programs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Teresa. And thank you everyone for joining this evening. Like Teresa said, I'm Elle Fisher. I'm the Director of Trail Programs here at CDTC, and I'm based up in our Helena, Montana office. And I'm really excited this evening to share with you all our big announcements. As much exciting things as we had to celebrate for 2024, we have so much to look forward to in 2025 as well. So our first big announcement, we bought a Yukon. So we were contacted by the family of Nita Laurent, who wanted to know if we would be interested in buying their Yukon. The reason they reached out is they knew have been looking for a long time for a trail-worthy vehicle. And as you all know, that road down there is a little treacherous. So they thought this would be a great way to support our work. So starting in the spring, you will see our new trail shuttle vehicle transporting CDT hikers to and from the Southern Monument. So huge development at the Southern Monument and just access down there to that point. And we can't wait to take it for a ride and have you all join us. Our next big announcement is this year we will be celebrating Trail Days in Silver City again. So this year you can join us in celebrating a decade of connection and community at CDT Trail Days in Silver City. So this year actually marks the 10-year anniversary of this really beloved event, bringing together hikers, trail enthusiasts, and gateway communities for a weekend of workshops, trail stewardship, and really celebration. Taking place April 18th through the 20th in Silver City, New Mexico, CDT Trail Days will feature special events to honor this really important milestone, including a commemorative ceremony, keynote reflection, and limited edition merchandise. So we invite you to join us in coming together to reflect on 10 years of success and look ahead to the future of the stewardship of the CDT. And we really can't wait to celebrate with you all. I know last year we celebrated 10 years of Silver City as a gateway community, and look forward to that being an even bigger celebration this year. Something else to look out for in 2025, CDTC will launch our biannual community survey to gather insights from small businesses and communities all along the trail. I'm sure many of you on this call have seen this survey in the past and actually been responded, so thank you for that. This survey this year will explore the local vitality and economic impact of the CDT and really aim to get a better understanding of how the trail contributes to the community well-being and growth so that CDTC can do our work with you all in the shared stewardship of the CDT to make sure that communities are benefiting from the trail as well. So by capturing feedback directly from those who live and work near the trail, we hope to strengthen partnerships, support our local communities, and enhance the benefits of the CDT for all. So stay tuned for more details on how you can participate and share your experiences, because we really want to hear from you. Excellent. Our next big announcement, as I'm sure you all have been anticipating, we will have another jam-packed and exciting volunteer season in 2025, working alongside volunteers and partners in some of the most iconic landscapes along the Divide. Projects this year include tread work, corridor clearing, bridge repair, and more. So a good diversity of work for anyone interested in getting out on the trail and doing some good stewardship or just improving your stewardship skills. The project signups will go live on the website for CDTC members on February 3rd. And then we'll open up to the general public on February 10th for anyone interested in signing up. So be sure to mark on your calendars as we have some exciting new projects this year that will likely fill up fast. Projects are typically multi-day projects and will take place in all 5 CDT states. And our field programs team will also be hosting 3 adopter trainings with one each in New Mexico, Colorado, and Montana. And as Teresa shared earlier, our volunteer hours last year were amazing, and we can't wait to see this number continue to grow. So be sure to be on the lookout for those opportunities to get outside with other members of our amazing trail community. Excellent. And then our last kind of big announcement, passed in 2020, the bipartisan Great American Outdoors Act was a landmark piece of legislation for the American public lands, and especially for the CDT. The Great American Outdoors Act did 2 things. It created permanent authorization of $900 million for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and it created the Legacy Restoration Fund, which addresses deferred maintenance on America's public lands. And the impacts of GAOA on the CDT have been huge. LWCF is the CDT's best potential source of funding to complete the CDT, and the Legacy Restoration Fund has already addressed deferred maintenance in all 3 of the national parks through which the CDT passes, and in Region 1 of the Forest Service. So that's work going to improve campsites, roads, bridges, and just improve the CDT experience overall. Just last year, the U.S. Forest Service CDT program did apply for $4.8 million under the Legacy Restoration Fund to address deferred maintenance on the CDT in New Mexico, Colorado, Idaho, and Wyoming. CDTC has committed to providing another $2 million in match over the course of that potential investment, totaling an investment of $6.8 million to address deferred maintenance on the CDT, which is just a huge impact. So pending passage of the congressional budget, CDTC is excited to work with the Forest Service on projects that make trails more accessible, more enjoyable, and safer for folks spending time on the trails through projects like clearing down trees or building new connector trails. And like I said, that's all pending Congress's budget. But that original round of funding for the Legacy Restoration Fund is set to expire at the end of this fiscal year. And while the impacts of that first round of funding have been huge, they have made only a small dent in the buildup of that deferred maintenance on public land. Fortunately, a bipartisan group of senators, including Montana's own Senator Daines, recently introduced the America the Beautiful Act, which is a bill that would build on this historic investment in public lands made by GAOA by extending the Legacy Restoration Fund for an additional 8 years and increasing authorization to $2 billion per year. So by investing an additional $16 billion for deferred maintenance on our public lands, this bill really could move the needle in making outdoor recreation safer, more enjoyable, and more accessible on the CDT. So to be kept in the loop on all things to do with the Great American Outdoors Act and where that funding is being, showing up on the ground, be sure to sign up for our advocacy alerts to stay in the loop and learn more about how you can help support the future of this historic investment as well. And with that, like I said, we have a really exciting year ahead, a lot to celebrate in 2024, but really a lot to build on in 2025. So really excited to see a lot of you all out in the community as well. So with that, I will pass it over to Audra.
Thanks, Elle. I'm going to pick up here, but I just wanted to mention again for folks on the Zoom, if you have questions for our staff panel at the end, feel free to drop those in the Q&A or the chat. We'll have staff available answering questions throughout, and then have the opportunity to broaden those questions out to the rest of the staff during our Q&A. My name is Audra Liebert. I'm the Director of Communications, and I'm based out of the office here in Helena. I have the pleasure of talking about some of the exciting stuff that we're working on coming up. Teresa mentioned that we now have a dedicated trail information program manager, which has already been of enormous benefit to hikers, and we've heard and gotten feedback from hikers about receiving alerts out on the trail. For those of you who are starting a hike in 2025 or maybe next year or maybe part of the CDT, I'd encourage you to join our info webinar update. We started these last year, and those recordings are still relevant. This year we're having an update, so it won't be a full redo of last year's, but meant to complement. That's going to be February 20th, and this is really exciting this year. We have the privilege of some staff from Glacier National Park to join us for that webinar. It's a really great opportunity to hear straight from park staff, and we're really excited to be working closely with Glacier to help hikers and also park staff navigate the hiking season. And we'll also be covering trail information from shuttles and trail angels, more information on alerts and trail closures, and then again offering that live Q&A. So just encourage you to review last year's recordings on our website or YouTube to be ready for this year's info webinar update. And I'm curious, so I'm going to give a few really cool numbers about 2024 field projects. And while I do that, go ahead and drop in the chat if you have volunteered for a CDTC trail project or even another trail organization. Well, we'll allow that. It's all good work. So I'm going to give a few really awesome numbers. So in 2024, work was done in all 5 Divide states. And 10 new trail adopters helped us reach a total of 272 adopted miles of trail, which is amazing. There were over 100 trail markers placed, over 100 volunteers, over 33,000 feet of tread maintenance completed. Over 1,000 down trees. I think it was like 1,400, and over 6,000 total hours of volunteer stewardship. So thanks to everybody who helps in that maintenance for CDTC and otherwise. And I just want to reiterate that registration for those projects goes live next month. So be watching for those updates. And next slide, please. And this year, each project attendee will be entered to win a Yeti cooler, which is pretty awesome. So if you haven't been out on a project, they're really fun, and it's really cool to see how people make these like really great and sometimes long-term friendships out on these projects. But at the very least, you get to spend time outside with some like-minded individuals doing good work. Also coming up is the annual Hike the Hill. So this is a very different kind of hike. This is when CDT staff will head to Washington, D.C. This is an annual collaboration between the Partnership for the National Trail System and the American Hiking Society that brings together other organizations and advocates for trails across the country. So while we're there, CDTC will work with other trail groups to educate decision makers about the importance of the CDT and the National Trail System. And we'll discuss current and legislative topics like the CDT Completion Act, the Legacy Restoration Fund, and funding for land management agencies. What you can do now to participate is to sign up for advocacy alerts. We'll be sending out a toolkit where you can engage in this process and encourage and support our efforts at Hike the Hill by reaching out to your elected officials. And then you'll also receive emails that explain exactly what we're advocating for and how you can help. So that QR code on the screen, if you're not on your phone, will take you to sign up for advocacy alerts specifically. You'll only get advocacy alerts from us if you sign up through there. But then we'll be also sending some resources out after the webinar to remind you of those opportunities. And that's it. I'm going to pass it back to Teresa to share some more news and to help start closing us out toward that Q&A session at the end. Teresa.
Thanks, Audra. And we are excited to share at kind of a big announcement that we're excited to share the 2025-2029 strategic vision for the Continental Divide Trail Coalition. We've been working on this document and this vision for almost 2 years. It started in 2023, and it's the framework that will guide our work to learn from the land and its spirit and build greater understanding amongst all those who are connected to and love the CDT and its surrounding landscapes. The vision is going to be our statement on how we plan to continue to do our work in service of the trail and connected communities and landscapes. And it also reflects the feedback of the CDT community. And we just want to thank you all for participating in the effort to help us get there. We heard so much from you about the work we do, and how it's really important for us to continue to prioritize trail completion, trail connection, and corridor protection. We heard support for our work to amplify and engage communities along the trail, not just our designated gateway communities, but all the communities along the trail. We received positive feedback for regionalizing our work. And now we have 3 offices, which is awesome. We just heard so much positive support for our work and the way we do our work, in particular, things like using technology, providing free information, increasing access, doing all the trail maintenance, just all the things that we do. We just heard all the things that we can continue to do, that you want us to continue to do, and how we can continue to do it better. So just thank you for helping us craft this vision that we're really proud of. And we did end up with just a beautiful document that I think is going to go in the chat. Are we releasing it in the chat? I'm not sure. But if it isn't in the chat, it's going to go out to all of y'all tonight, tomorrow, and be public. And we're really thrilled about that. So please take a look at that. It has an updated mission statement, which now our mission is to complete, protect, and elevate the Continental Divide National Scenic Trail while engaging and inspiring stewardship of the trail and its surrounding landscapes. We have a vision statement, which is a completed Continental Divide National Scenic Trail establishes a fully protected corridor that ignites love, passion for the breathtaking landscapes of the Continental Divide and unites people from all cultures, communities, and trail experiences. And it really shows and shares our commitment to trail completion and connection, and our commitment to keeping those as our highest priorities in all of our work. So we thank you for all of you who helped us create this new vision that will be guiding our work over the next 3 to 5 years, and really helps all of us here on the call tonight, our board, really expand and do the work we do in a way that is really honoring the places that we come from, the places we love along the Continental Divide. So thank you so much for helping us craft this document. And with that, I just want to remind you that we can't do this work without you. So thank you for being a part of the organization. Thank you for attending tonight. And thank you for continuing to support our work. We can't do this without you. For those of you who volunteer, thank you. That is some of the most incredible gifts that you can provide the Continental Divide Trail. For those of you who support our work with financial contributions, thank you so much. We just really can't do our work without you. And it really means so much when we can go to Washington, D.C., and we can tell the Forest Service, for that $295,000 you invest in us, we're bringing you $1.44 million. And it really makes a difference in federal agencies. Almost every single time they kind of go, whoa, like, wow, because it's not normal. I think we're all really proud of that. So thank you for helping us make that happen. And now I think we're going to switch over to our staff Q&A, and so that we can answer all of your questions, which I maybe only see one of. But we're going to introduce and welcome all our staff back to our Q&A. And we're here. Maybe drop some questions in the chat or in the Q&A section on the chat on the Zoom function. And yeah, I think, Audra, do you want me to moderate, or do you want to moderate, or maybe we'll both moderate? I don't know.
Great.
This is the first one for us. I think it's kind of fun. So take advantage of us while we're here. Who's got a burning trail information question? Come on, someone's got to have a burning trail information question that Danny, our newest full-time trail information manager, can answer about the hiker registration program, hiker hang tags. Who's got a question about the shuttle? Yeah, what do we got?
We do have a few, and I think uh, we have one. Can you please explain the hang tag program? Um, Danny, I think this is probably all three of you for you, but if you want to start with the hang tag and then we'll see how long we can put you on the spot. But just someone asking to re-explain the hang tag program.
Yeah, I'd love to, and I might pass those other two to Dan. But the hang tag is a voluntary registration. So if you are planning to spend one or more nights on the CDT this year, we encourage everyone to go to our website and register. In return, you will get a hang tag. They must be picked up in person. There's 4 locations at this moment. On the trail, we're looking to add more. So you can pick them up in person, and then you can keep them on your backpack if you want to, or just keep them as a souvenir. And also in return, we will, if you elect to, via that same registration form, we'll send you text alerts if there's a trail closure or a wildfire, things of that nature. So yeah, go to our website, cdtcoalition.org/register. You can see that. You can also see some data of when other people have registered. We're hoping that's really beneficial to those that are southbounding starting in Glacier National Park. We know permits are kind of hard to come by there, and so you'll be able to see when other people have registered to maybe pick days where there's less people and less competition to get those permits. Hopefully that answers it. And maybe, Dan, if you're on, if you can take those reroute.
Sure. Yeah, I can cover that. So first off, I just want to share the trail completion page, and you can find information about all the gaps and trail completion stuff there, just for future reference. But specifically, the questions were about the Lordsburg Gap and the Muddy Pass Steamboat Springs Gap. And so in Lordsburg, in both of these situations, we're looking. There are 2 of our major gaps where the route has to follow a highway, mostly due to private lands and or sensitive wildlife issues. And so both of those we're actively working on addressing them. In Lordsburg, looking at a few different options, both north and south of town, to get it off of the highway, to get it on some sort of like town trail, or potentially route it away from the highway altogether onto public lands. There's also an added level of challenges there with a lot of proposals for other uses of public lands, like energy development and other things. So taking all those things into account with the Bureau of Land Management and seeing where the most optimal route would be there. So yes is the short answer. We are looking at different routes to get it off of the highway. We're kind of right now in the scouting different routes and initial planning stages of where that actually could be. But with the recent designation of Hidalgo County as a gateway community, which is where Lordsburg is located, there's a lot more resources and local engagement there, and that really helps us like identify where some potential routes could go, and some other resources there locally that could help us make that happen. Steamboat Springs, which is the Muddy Pass Gap on Colorado 14. We have a very rich working group there, made up of people from like state agencies, federal agencies, local landowners. It kind of runs the gamut of just like figuring out ways we can thread the trail through this really challenging gap because of private land and wildlife corridor, like sensitive wildlife habitat as well. So we can't just like plop it down anywhere, even if it's public land, just because we have to be cognizant of these other resources that share the divide landscape. But we have found some ways to at least like incrementally make it better, working with like the DOT to put up some signs to bring more awareness, so people at least know why people are walking down the highway, or maybe it like inspires them to go see part of the trail in that area, and working with the BLM to identify some places where possibly people could camp along there on public lands, so that if you got stuck on the highway, you weren't just walking at night. and just bringing a lot of visibility and working with the local county, Jackson County commissioners, just to figure out any way we can kind of squeeze this in and improve the current situation until, you know, we can find that that very generous landowner that will give us a right of way or an easement for the trail. So constantly working on it with Jordan Williams, who's not on the call, but he's our Colorado regional rep. So he's been tirelessly working on this among many other things there. So we did have a really great eco flight last year. Just again, bring more people together and bring more awareness to what we're trying to do, but also all the other resources there, like working lands and wildlife and stuff like that. And so it's a really strong working group and collaborative. And it's just great to see how it's grown over the years because there's so many folks interested in completing the CDT, but also all the other things going on there. So short answer is it's still a roadblock, but we're working towards completing it. And there's a lot more resources available to assist with that section at this time. So.
Awesome. And then Liz, maybe you can answer the question about Sobo Trail Days. I think it's in Leadville. I think it's going to be happening again this year, but maybe you have some information on that. I know Jordan isn't on the call tonight. So.
Yeah, and I kind of have a two-part answer to this question. For all the folks on the call, as we mentioned earlier, we have sort of our annual Trail Days event happening in Silver City, New Mexico, that typically takes place in April, and it's usually for northbound hikers. But a couple years ago, our gateway community of Leadville Twin Lakes began what they dubbed SOBO Trail Days, Southbound Trail Days. That typically takes place in September for those who are hiking southbound on the CDT, and it's grown immensely. It's community-led, it's DIY. There's amazing events like trivia, speakers, bilingual speakers, vendors, and it's grown immensely. I think there was about 50 to 75 hikers we saw last year at Sobo Trail Days in Leadville. And I don't think there's a date for that set yet, but it is an annual event. So we will keep our website and social channels updated as we hear more information. And then also I want to shout out, I think Mike from this organization called Follow the Footsteps, also based out of Leadville, is hosting a new event this year in Leadville in June 20th through the 21st, which is sort of this hike bike exciting new event that is going to be focusing a lot more on like day hiking and backpacking services that are more adaptive, which is his organization, Follow the Footsteps, is a guiding service. So there will be another event in June in the Leadville area that we're really looking forward to this year. The theme is Adventure Begins with One Footstep. So kind of two really exciting events happening in Leadville, Sobo Trail Days, DAZE, in September, and then another Trail Days in June for those who are excited or who will be in the area at that time of year. There'll be family-friendly comedians, some podcasters, and we're hopefully going to do some volunteer stewardship as well. So more to come on that. And if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to email me directly. I can put my email in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. Danny, just a follow-up question on the hang tag. If folks come to Trail Days and they've registered already, but they haven't gotten a hang tag, can they get a hang tag at Trail Days?
Yeah, I was just typing that one out. Yeah, absolutely. Just to clarify on that as well, when you show up at one of the locations, just make sure you have proof of your registration. So like a copy of that confirmation email is fine. But yes, we will have them at our booth or a table at Trail Days on Saturday. So come on by and see us and you'll get a hang tag.
And then I'm going to keep you on the spot, Danny, because there was a question in the chat around getting into Canada. Any issues with that, similar to what's happening on the PCT? And I know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer.
Well, maybe you should answer. Maybe you know something I don't. As far as we know, there is not any effect. The main difference with Waterton, the northern terminus on the CDT, is there is a port of entry there. So my only thinking would be perhaps they won't let people walk in and you'll have to take the ferry in, but we have yet to hear anything about that, but we'll definitely keep you updated. And hopefully we'll have a better update at that Essentials webinar. But yeah, there is a port of entry there. It's a legal port of entry. So we hopefully are not going to be affected by what happened on the PCT.
And there's actually a kiosk and like actually live kiosk at the border where you can actually sign in and sign out. We actually saw it last summer. So and it functions in the middle of nowhere. So hopefully that should not be a problem. Let's see. Where's the next question? Axel wants to know if because of all the dry between Lordsburg and Silver City in the recent years, did any of the areas like Mud Springs get fixed? Is there anything new around wells or water sources along the way? And maybe Dan, you can respond to that one.
Yeah, we got some snow a couple weeks ago, so slightly less dry. But no, actually Mud Springs there in the boroughs, I did reach out to the Forest Service recently just to find out what the status of that was and see if there's some ways we can improve that one because it is kind of out there. So I don't know about that one in particular. I know some of the other critical ones, Engineer Well, which is just as you cross into the Forest Service. That one, the well casing had collapsed quite a few years ago. Fortunately, the local rancher and permittee who leases that allotment for cattle, he's been pumping water from his private well to that tank for the last several years just for cattle, but he's, he knows hikers are using it too. And so like, he doesn't mind that. Just please don't mess with any of the plumbing around it. So, so they can continue to do that and it doesn't like mess with his like private water supply in his cattle operation either. So he's been really generous to keep that going. Another local rancher and permittee down by Hachita, he has two different tanks, both north and south of Highway 9 of Hachita, where he's put in storage tanks and or like hose bibs for easier access to the water. So you don't have to like scoop it out of the tank and filter it. Still have to filter it, but you can just take it out of a tap. So the natural sources aren't looking so great, but fortunately we have some great neighbors that are kind, keeping their water sources open, and we're looking at some other options, potentially like water catchment in some places, like they've done on the Arizona Trail, and improving springs where we can. But unfortunately, as we all know, things are changing and water sources aren't as reliable as they used to be, and so we're very cognizant of that and doing what we can to improve it where we can for the trail users.
And I think just as a reminder, like if you do access water from anybody's, it's not a water cache box, especially in the boot heel, please leave it as you found it, or make sure if you turn on anything, turn it off. And just remember that people are doing that. A lot of that water does serve livestock and other animals in the area. And then if something goes bad, that's really devastating. And also remember to close the gate. And I think we had a question here, maybe also for Dan. You're in the hot seat tonight. Maybe this is from Pintler Ports. Maybe it's Steve over at Pintler's Portal Hostel. Another big gap is around I-15, and the question is, what are the options for the area around Monida Pass on I-15 up there in Montana, if you've started working on that? I know that's a focus a little bit.
Yeah, so we've kind of been hitting that one a little bit more this year. We've been doing a private parcel analysis with Zach, our JS specialist, and Megan Gatan, one of our partners from the Forest Service, identifying all the private parcels along the CDT and figuring out solutions for that, whether it's a reroute or trying to find an acquisition or something like that. And so through that process, really been looking into the Butte area because for y'all that live around Butte, you probably know that there's a lot of private land around CDT and hence the road walks. One of those, it looks promising that there is some like public lands nearby. So there might be options to rerouted off the highways. The other one looks a bit more challenging. There's not as much public lands, but I have reached out to the Butte Ranger District to see what they're thinking, talk about the private parcel analysis, and just see what options might be for locating the trail somewhere else, like off of those roads. And so really hoping this summer that either myself or our Montana contingency will be able to get out there and start doing some scouting on the land just to see how feasible some of these routes might be. And then we'll be working with the Forest Service to move forward from there. So working on it. Going to be doing a lot of field work in Montana this year. So.
And then just building on that I was just going to say that, Lauren, that we actually just closed the position announcement for hiring a Montana regional rep. And we will be having a full-time Montana regional rep based out of Montana at some point in the next couple months. Looking for that announcement. We had over 79 people apply for the position, which is just amazing, incredible pool of applicants, and looking forward to that process going and having even more presence up in Montana. There was a follow-up question from Dax, and the question is there someone around to do water caching for southbound hikers later in the year, and how late is that service available usually? And Danny, it's like Dan and Danny game. Who's taking the lead?
Yeah, thanks for that question. We don't know if we will be caching the water, but we will certainly make sure that there's someone doing it. In the years past, we've had private drivers do it. It just kind of depends on what the demand is and if we are going to run a service or not. So that's still to be determined. But yeah, we're going to definitely make sure that there is water or someone caching water for the southbound group that comes through. And we might run a shuttle service ourselves. So just continue to check with our website. And we might even have an update on that at our webinar on February 20th. But there will be options for you. We'll make sure of that.
Yeah, and I know there was a question early on, and maybe for the benefit of everyone, how to register for the shuttle. And I think maybe we put the link in the chat, but if not, we will definitely. You can still register online. There's still plenty of dates available. I think right now we're right around 200 riders. Or am I overestimating that? That's right, Danny. Yeah. But please, the shuttle is in full operation, and you'll get to ride in the Yukon. And then we did also want to mention that, we're so grateful that Christy Ortiz from Hidalgo County is on the call or on the town hall. And she wanted to mention that the weekend before Trail Days in Silver City, April 11th and 12th, is Get Outdoors Hidalgo for northbounders. And so there will be a bunch of events happening in and around Lordsburg. And if you're walking through town at that point in time, don't hesitate to stop in. It's a lot of fun to be there, and we'll be there as well. Nicole has a question. Does the CDTC plan to install a shuttle service at the northern terminus for Sobo hikers from East Glacier to Chief Mountain during a certain time frame like there is for northbound hikers in New Mexico? I will take the first stab at that part of the question, and then Danny, you can definitely add. I think because there are that's all tribal land on the East Glacier side, it's a little more complicated than us working with the BLM. And there are many, many local indigenous folks who do provide shuttles, and businesses like I know the Looking Glass Hostel and other folks have a list of stuff when you get into town. We are starting to build a better list of that. Even Glacier Park has some resources. But because of the nuance of that all being tribal land, we have not done that, and just because it's a little more complicated, and there are a lot of existing shuttle providers available in the region that keeps that money local to folks in around East Glacier. I don't know, Danny, if there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, just to add on that, yeah, the reason we don't do it is because there are insured, permitted businesses already doing a great job of that. Backpackers Ferry comes to mind, Chief Mountain Taxi comes to mind. So yeah, there's great services already available. So yeah, feel free to look into those. They do a great job.
Another question is, what would be the best way to know how I could plug into the Trail Angel community? I just moved to Albuquerque from the PCT and knew a lot about the PCT, but the CET is a new world. Who wants to take that one?
I can talk about that. So I would encourage you to attend that info webinar because we are going to be talking about that. There are networks if you're on social media that you can tap into, and if you're already familiar with that kind of community, that's great. We are working on some kind of best practices and some guidance and tips for doing that. Maybe things that you don't immediately think about related to safety and providing Trail Angel services. So it's a really generous and important part of the trail community. So I think it's awesome that you want to do that. But the way that I see most people doing that is either through Far Out app for navigation. There's some Trail Angel posts in there, but also Facebook groups. So if you have any more questions about that though, or you're having a hard time, feel free to reach out to us again or attend that info webinar where you can hear from hikers as well.
Awesome. Well, I know we're coming up onto the 7 o'clock hour, and I don't know if there's any last minute burning questions. But I do want to just say thank you again to everybody for participating and giving us some great things to talk about. CDTC, we love to hear from you. We have our info at Continental Divide, or that's not even Continental Divide Trail anymore. It's info at cdtcoalition.org, which we can put that email in the chat. If you have any questions you want to send us for further discussion, just send them away. We'd love to hear from you. We also want to just say thank you to, gosh, so many of our community partners that are on the call tonight. So many of you hikers that we hope we get to run into on the trail this summer. And in general, just all of you help us make the work we do so much fun and so rewarding, and really, the way we approach our work is this is a relationship that we have with everybody. And so we really look forward to getting to know you all. If we don't know you yet, seeing you all again this summer, if we already know you, and strengthening all of the work that we get to do together. So thank you for being a part of the Continental Divide Trail, part of the Continental Divide Trail Coalition. And if there's no further questions, thanks so much for joining us tonight, giving us an hour of your time, learning about all the work we're doing, and helping us continue to thrive in the work that we do on behalf of the Continental Divide Trail. So thanks all for joining us, and have a great night.